What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and the topic of today's tutorial is going to be elevations in Revit and how to make them look absolutely stunning. Elevations in Revit can look terrible, and I want to kind of create a tutorial that shows off all of the little tips and tricks and all of the features in Revit that you can use in order to make them stunning. For example, making the glass transparent and just playing around with the shadows, with the lines, everything like that. Things that I really can't find like one single tutorial that goes all over that here on YouTube, so I decided to make one. Okay, and just to make this introduction quick, this is what we're starting off, and this is what we're going to be creating. So that's what this tutorial is going to be all about. Now, just quickly before we get into that, I would just like to ask you to like this video. It helps me out a lot, and if you haven't already, I suggest you subscribe because I make useful Revit tutorials each week, and also I make some advanced courses. All of those can be found on my Patreon. First link in the description. I've got over 40 hours of content over there. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into the tutorial. This is the project that I'm going to be using for this tutorial. This is one of the buildings that I model in my advanced courses. I actually have 12 hours of content just in-depth modeling this building with like very detailed plans, sections. We have some details, things like that. So everything has been modeled perfectly, just as it would be in real life. So that's what this project was all about, and if you're interested, check out my Patreon. First link in the description. Now let's switch to the elevation, and I'm going to be working with the south elevation. So this is the starting point, and it's pretty ugly if you agree. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is kind of crop things out just to make a decent selection. So what I'm going to do first is go here to properties, scroll down, and then just check crop view, and we can't really crop the view until we can see the crop region, so just turn the visibility of that, and here we go. Now I'm just going to crop it like this. Let's say this works, kind of like that, and let's give it a bit more sky and a bit less here on the bottom. And now the first thing that I'm going to be doing is just kind of setting up some of the basic things. So for example, these levels and these grids, we don't really need them. They're not necessary. We're trying to create a nice looking elevation, and this is not a technical plan. So first, to turn those off, I'm just going to go here in the properties into visibility graphic overrides, or VG is the shortcut, and just go here into annotation categories and just get rid of all of those. So you just uncheck this, and you just, as you can see, you turn everything off. And I'm just going to click OK, and as you can see, now they're gone. Okay, the next thing that I kind of find annoying with Revit elevations is, well, the fact that Revit elevation cuts through the ground. It simply works as a section. So as you can see here, we have this cut through the ground, and the problem is usually if you have something underneath, it's going to appear here below the ground, has only just a little bit of depth, and then you can see the rest of the building below. Now, I really find this annoying, but luckily there is a solution to this. So in order to fix this, you just need to go here to Massing and Site, and go here to Topo Surface. So that's under the Model Site panel, and you just click this here Site Settings button, and here we have this elevation of poach base. So that's this here, and we can just change that from 300 to, I don't know, like 500. Hit apply. And there we go, it's almost covering it, so let's do 550, and I think that will do the job. Apply, and there we go. Now, as you can see here, it's kind of blocking off the whole building. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do for this view, just to make it look a bit nicer, is get the detail level set to fine. This will add some elements here on this building. And just looking at this, I'm just going to move the car a little bit out of the way here so it doesn't cover the Balkan Architect sign, which is very important to me. Okay, so now let's turn on the shadows. Okay, it looks better already. And now these shadows here in Revit are nice, these regular shadows, but it's really cool to go ahead and go to graphic display options and turn on the ambient shadows. And when I apply that, as you can see, it gives a little bit of depth to the drawing. It looks really nice. So I like to add those ambient shadows. And now this can make your model quite dark. So in that case, let me go here back to graphic display options and into lighting. So the first option here for shadows, I like to keep it anywhere between 10 and 30. So something like this, maybe 20, maybe 30 for this one, or 25. There we go, looks a lot better. Now here we have the options for sun and for ambient light. So here if you change it just like this, it doesn't really make any changes. What this is particularly good for is here if your style is perhaps realistic, and if I hit apply, let's wait for a second, you're going to notice that these Revit elevations tend to be really dark. So when you turn on realistic here, I tend to turn up the sun and then the ambient light, and as you can see, it kind of lights up everything. Now in this case, I'm just going to be working with your regular hidden line elevation, so I'm not going to be messing with this. Okay, moving on, we're happy with this. Next, we have the option for silhouettes. Now, what silhouettes is supposed to do is kind of make, well, silhouettes. The outside of this building should kind of pop out. Now, if I turn this into maybe wide lines and hit apply, it is going to make a change, but that change is rarely visible. Here we have some declines, but they tend to look really weird. For example, here we have for the column, but then for the walls we don't, because these are your regular like curtain walls. Now here it looks kind of weird, so I tend to not use that option. So I'm just going to check it to none, and then I tend to do this manually. Now, there are a couple of options to go about this. You can either go here to modify and then use the line work tool, which can be done. You can just use wide lines and then you click here and then it turns this into a wide line. But as you can see, this would take a lot of time and you would have to go ahead and pick each line. So what I tend to do is, let me just uncheck all of this. There we go. I tend to go here to the Annotate tab and then use Detail Lines, and here I go with wide lines, and then I just go all the way around the building, so each part of the building is kind of highlighted. I like to go like this, then perhaps do one over here for the whole, oops, not there. That should be here. Let's do one line here, go all the way up. Next, we should have some separation going on over here. And then probably something like this. And I'm actually just going to go like this just to highlight the Balkan Architect sign, perhaps. And then go from here to here. There we go, looks nice. And then, of course, you can go ahead and add these parts in. Maybe this could look good. And then perhaps if I just go with split element. There we go, I think this looks nice. So you try playing around with these detail lines, and then you can get to something that that looks nice. Maybe move this down a bit. And then I'm just typing in SL for split line and then TR for trim and extend. So those are these tools. So trim and extend, TR, and SL for split element. Anyways, so we add the outline, and if you can't see the outline, maybe your thin lines are turned on, so make sure that those are turned off, so this isn't highlighted. Anyways, moving on, the next thing that I like to do with these models, and oops, I just figured out that here this is kind of going through the tree, and it should go to the outside of the tree. There we go. The next option that I like to do is to add a little bit of depth here to this elevation. Now you can do that by using the depth queuing option. So here on your graphic display options, we have depth queuing, and we can just turn it on. And as you can see, we have these two sliders, and we can play around with those. Now this tends not to be that accurate, and people tend to just play around with these, and it's kind of hard to kind of guess what should you set it to. And what I found the best option is to first set the just the view depth for your elevation, and then this depth queuing will work a lot better. So let me show you how that works. So here for this elevation, if we go to extents, we have the far clip offset is just not highlighted because the far clipping is with no clip. Now you can turn it on without clip or with clip line. I'm just going to do without clip line and click OK, and now this number can be edited. Now to edit that number, what we need to do is go here into ground level, go to this to the elevation symbol, select it, and then as you can see you get this little slider. Now I like to slide it just past the building, so just make sure it goes just past the building and it doesn't go any further, just because that depth queuing is going to take that slider. So this slider over here, the back part, the 100 part, is this part over here, the back of the building, or the back of the elevation symbol. So that's why it's really important that's here at the back of the building. So that 100 in that depth queuing is going to represent the back of the building. And as you can see, it changed a little bit. So let's go back here to graphic display options, to depth queuing, and yeah, so we can just move this back, maybe even further, so just like that. So now as you can see, this part kind of gets a little bit faded, and you can play around with the fade limit. So this if it goes up to here, that means it's dark, and if it goes up to here, that means it's light. So that's basically what that controls, and this controls the beginning of your fade. So you want that beginning part of the building to be really kind of dark, and then you want this far away portion to be kind of lighter. So there we go, this looks nice. It adds a little bit of depth to your model, especially with these silhouette lines. I really like the contrast, so yeah, let's leave that as is. So once we have set this up, the next thing that I like to play around is transparency. So you're going to notice that in these elevation views, windows don't really have transparency. Now I find that extremely annoying. So if I go into maybe the 3D view, here we go, you're going to notice that, yeah, we have some stuff inside of this office. So we have some tables, some chairs, offices. So we have a lot of families, a lot of furniture inside, and we can't see that inside of the elevation, and that's really annoying. So let's go back into our south elevation and let's see what we can do. So unfortunately, we can't turn on transparency for the whole curtain facade, just because these here parts, so these panels over here, are not transparent. Only these ones are. So how do you make them transparent here? Well, the only and the best option that I've found so far is the option to turn on just a temporary VG override or visibility graphics override to these windows. Now, it would be really hard to go ahead and try to use the tab key to select each panel. As you can see, it takes a lot of time to make that selection. So this would be really annoying. So in order to create a selection of just these panels over here, what you can always do is go here to your project browser, scroll all the way down to families, open that up. Now here we have curtain panels, open that up. Here we have curtain system panels, and let's go with the glazed one. That's the one we want to edit, and you just right click here, and then you go with select all instances, either visible in view or in entire project. We can go entire project, and as you can see, it just selects all of those items, and then you can just right click, override graphics in view by element, and then let's give them like 40% transparency, and as you can see, this is what you get. Now I'm just going to click OK. Now, as you can see, everything is transparent and it looks a lot better. Now, these windows are not transparent, so that's a bit annoying. So I'm just going to select those panels. They are a lot easier to select. Keep that in mind. So let's just go like this. There we go. And this door panel as well. And then you just right click, override graphics in view by element, and then let's go with 40%, apply. There we go. And now, as you can see, we have transparency in this building. Not too much. It still has that little reflectiveness, reflective appearance, but it still looks good. I still like the way that this looks. The next thing that I have to do is I have to change the way that this tree and this here car look. It's really annoying to have a black and white elevation with just these two colored elements. So I'm going to select the tree first and then just right click, go to override graphics and view by element. Now you might be tempted to change the pattern, but if you take a closer look at this tree, what gives it its color are these outlines. So it's not the actual fill pattern. We have to change the actual lines. So let's select it again, right click, override graphics and view by element, and open up the projection lines and change them to solid. And then the color, I'm going to go with this a light gray, hit OK, apply, OK, and there you go. I think this looks really elegant. I really like the look. And now for the car, I'm just going to do the same thing, right click, override the graphics and view by element. Just for the car, I'm going to, make sure to go to projection lines and then here change them to solid. And for color, I'm just going to go with the darker one, just because of the way that the car looks. I think it's going to just look better if it's a bit darker. Maybe let's try something else. Let's try black completely. Maybe that would look even better. Yeah, it would. So just because of the dark background of this wall, it makes sense for the car to be either black or just to try something else out. Let's try white. Yeah, this can look interesting. Oh, it does. So there we go. I think this looks even better. So you have to play around a little bit with these elements, but in the end, this is what we get. The next thing I want to do is I want to play around with the background a little bit, especially for student elevations or for trying to impress the client. It does make sense to make a bit of a more interesting background. So for the background here, I'm going to go here and open up the visibility graphics here, or the graphics display options, and here we have the option for background, and here we have the sky option, but if we hit apply, you're going to notice that this sky looks kind of weird. I don't really like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a gradient, and then let's hit apply. Now this looks a lot better. Now here you're going to notice that this says ground color, and here we have it. Now the reason for that is just because level 0, so the ground level is here at this height, and our ground is kind of a little bit underneath that, so that's why this looks this way. So in order to fix that, what I'm going to do is just let's open that back up. And then here for the background, let's just turn this to white, and that's going to look a lot better. And also, I'm just going to make this a bit shorter, just like that. And for this ground, I want this line to be a bit thicker, just because I think it would look a bit better, a bit of a kind of a ground line. So what I'm going to do for that is just go here to the Manage tab and then head over to Object Styles. And here you have to find Topography. There we go, topography. Currently it's set to 6. Let's try 10. There we go. Hit OK. Now that's a bit too dark, perhaps. So let's go back to Object Styles. Let's do 8. Okay, I think that's the perfect balance. Okay, so one more thing that I would like to add is something in the background, just in the background sky. Now, luckily you can insert images over here, so let's see how that is done. So we have the option here to go to Insert and then Image, and then you have to find it. Now here, luckily on my desktop, I have this bird's image, so if I open that up, it's going to look like this, and as you can see, it's not visible. Now the reason for that is here, once we've placed this image, it's currently, the draw layer is background, so we just have to flip that to foreground, and here we go. Now it's still a bit large, so I'm just going to kind of resize it a little bit. And here I have this really cool PNG image of just birds. Now this might be too large as well. There we go, this looks nice. Now you can find these online, and these will be included in my Patreon post, so you can download them there. Just first a link in the description. Also, I'm going to add a hot air balloon, just because an elevation is never complete without a hot air balloon. So let's go here to image. Let's cancel out of this for now, and I'm just going to load this image in. Place it here. Again, it's not visible just because it's in the background. So just head over here to properties and change this to foreground. Hit apply. There we go. That's a large balloon. Let's move it up a bit. Resize it. Okay, it's kind of awkward working with this crop. So let's undo the crop for now. There we go. Now, oops, I've moved something else. There we go. I think this looks really cool now. And now we can just reset the crop. So just go here, find extents, crop view, turn it on. There we go. And there we go. Looks perfect. I really like the way this looks. Maybe we can just tilt this a little bit. There we go. That's the spirit. So there you go. So this is what our cool elevation looks like. And maybe we can just go ahead here and turn off the crop region visible. And there we go. This is now a really elegant and really nice looking elevation in Revit. And we got to it from that really ugly elevation. So I hope this was helpful. Now, if you want to download the project file, again, as I said, first link in the description, you can get everything that I used here, both of these images, the whole project file, everything else, plus a lot more content, a lot more courses, just advanced courses, things like that. I've got over 40 hours of content up on my Patreon. Okay, so this concludes today's tutorial. Thank you for watching. I hope you have learned something new. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.